cybersecurity agencies, and they all have echoed the same theme, that our region is very ripe for cyber attacks, and our region is viciously attacked, and it is underreported because our police forces do not have the ability to diagnose or make any significant inroads when it comes to cybersecurity investigations. So in some countries, they already have set up Bitcoin accounts to pay off the hackers. But our role is to make sure that this becomes an issue of the past. And by doing this, we're going to have to increase the capacity within the region. We are going to be able to offer services to the region and to companies and to governments. Now, to do that, the training capacity within the region must rise. And that's what we are focusing on in this particular seminar, helping people discover the blueprint to become a cyber warrior in the Caribbean. And I have great pleasure in introducing CyberGym. They're definitely one of the most outstanding companies in the field of cybersecurity training. And it's my joy to present to you Ronan and Offer. Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you very much, Andre. Hi, everyone. Like Andre and like John said, my name is Ophir, and I'm one of the founders and the CEO of CyberGym for the last 7 years, actually, from the moment that CyberGym is being established. So it's our pleasure, and thank you very much for having the time to participate and to be part of this panel and this webinar. We're going to spend the next 60 minutes, more or less, of talking about what we are seeing around the world with cybersecurity under the surface and above the surface. We're going to talk a little bit about case studies that CyberGym did around the world with governments, finance institutes, utilities like airports, energy companies, water companies, and so on. And we're going to talk about our philosophy and our vision about how we see the cybersecurity defense focusing on the manpower around the full scale of the manpower, starting from the board members down to the last employee in organizations as the main or the last, I would say, the last barrier and the last line of defense against cyber attacks around the world. And we see that even stronger and stronger in the last few months while we are dealing with the COVID-19 crisis around the world. So we're going to spend the 60 minutes covering those topics. I'm welcoming every attendees or anyone that want to ask any questions during the presentation. And if you have, we're probably going to have at the end of this presentation a few minutes of Q&A. So feel free to ask questions as we go. And I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to start the presentation. I'm going to start the presentation. Share the screen and start the presentation. Everyone is hearing me okay? Or is some problems with the audio? Are we good?
It's better now.
Are we good? Perfect. So let me share the screen. One sec. Legend, can you open the possibility for me to share the screen? Because right now it's disabled. Either Andre or Legend, I need you to allow me to share screen.
Yes, go on. Go now.
Yep. Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So let's start. Perfect. So just a little bit of like in a nutshell about Cybergene. We founded back in 2013 together with IEC. IEC stands for Israeli Electric Corporation. Israeli Electric Corporation is the, I would say, the monopole company in Israel responsible for the energy sector in Israel, for the grid, from A to Z, responsible for generation, distribution, transmission, and others. And back in 2013, when we discussed and when we kind of a brainstorm together with different utilities in Israel and tried to understand what is the situation regarding training and manpower, certification, protecting, I guess, defending against the cyber attacks around Israel, and we discovered that the methods, that the way that organizations are training their manpower is very, very individual, very vendor-oriented, and actually not as a company, not as an organization, definitely not as a group of people. And when we dive even more deeply to see where we are and how they do this training, we discovered again that the main methods are presentation-based and a little bit of hands-on exercise on a vendor-specific equipment. So we decided together with IC to take the military approach and to build facilities around the world, a training platform around the world, which allowed us to do. Okay, someone is writing us that there is a problem with the voice. Legend, there is a problem with the audio.
Yes.
I'm hearing you fine on my side, but Deidre's saying that you're cutting in and out a little bit on her side.
Okay, so give us 1 second. Can you hear us better? Is that better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but now I cannot hear you. Kevin, are we good now?
Yeah, I can hear you still. And Deidre said it's a little bit better on her side.
Kevin, are we good?
Yep,
Okay.
you're good. Coming through clear.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Going back to the presentation. Screen again. So I will continue wherever I stop. So we decided to establish training facilities, which is more based on the military approach and based on what the military does around the world to train their soldiers. And so we decided to build these training facilities, physical training platforms, which allowed us to train and to emulate critical infrastructures and to allow organizations to step into facilities and train their manpower in a realistic environment based on mimic of their environment. So for that, we incorporated Cybergene, like I said, back in 2013, together with IC, which were one of our main first customer in Israel. We recruited a lot of people from the intelligence units in Israel, from the military, from any other intelligence organizations and agencies in Israel, and we started to develop the methodology, the concepts, and all the, I would say, the technologies and the IP behind surrounding these facilities. Today, 7 years after, I have to say that I'm proud to say that we have more than 10 facilities around the world, together with governments, together with utilities, together with banks and huge players and huge critical infrastructures around the world. You can see some of them on your screens right now, from Lithuania, from Portugal, other places around the globe, Australia, Netherlands, even like I said, vendors which are multinational vendors like Microsoft and others are part of our portfolio and part of our customers. Some of them are focusing on training, some of them are focusing on building their own training facilities, and some of them are actually interested in our other value-added services that we are providing on top of our facilities. Like I said, finance institutes and huge banks from places around the world. Those customers are enjoying our intelligent capabilities and our experience from around the world, and we are able to share this experience from other areas in the world to go and to share with those customers. And we do that based on our training facility, and we do that based on our experience, and we do that based on our research and development desks that we have, teams that we have that allowed us to do those, I would say, data mining and to develop that to training sessions in case that we can use. One last thing before we give the floor to Ronen is that I would like to share with you the evolution process in the last few years, I would say 5 to 8 years, what happened or what's going on around the world, to try to connect different dots from different places around the world, in different dimensions around the world, so we will be able to see, maybe not the full picture, but we will be able to see a different picture of what we believe that happens in the cyber world. And I'm going to take you back in time to the Stuxnet incident back in 2010. And now 10 years after, we see additional attacks in our region, the Middle East region, but it's not necessarily focusing on the Middle East. We saw in the last few weeks additional attacks either in Iran or in Israel, a critical infrastructure being conducted using the cyber dimension. But between 2010 until 2020, a decade separating between Stuxnet and the last attack in Iran and the last attack in Israel border systems, there is a lot of additional attacks under the surface. A lot of activities that's going on under the surface, that those organizations are working very hard either to protect their infrastructures and their critical system, or to conduct research, develop new attacks, and conducting or executing those attacks on the other side infrastructures. Now, in the last 10 days, a lot of things going on. Like I said, a lot of activities in different aspects are happening under the surface. But on top of it, there is unrelated events, global events that happen around the world. And we can see the elections in the US, the elections in Europe, and now in the last, I would say, 4 to 6 months, the COVID-19 crisis, which is a crisis that is being used as what we are calling smoke screens, as a decoy for a lot of, let's say, bad guys, or a lot of malicious organizations that are trying to execute a lot of cybersecurity attacks on their opponents, on their enemies, which will probably be used somewhere down the road for their own benefits according to their time. So we believe that this under the surface, under the radar activities happening all over the world. And it's happening in the finance sectors, in the government sectors, happening in airports, in energy companies, offshore rigs, oil companies. It doesn't matter which utility, it's happening everywhere. And it's not necessarily focused on a specific territory. It could be the Middle East, the US, and the Caribbean, of course, and everywhere around the world. So we believe that the preparation part becomes a very essential, a very crucial step or milestone to protect the organization from, I would say, a major cyber attack, which in some cases can shut down countries or states. And to do that, we have to make sure that our manpower will be skilled, and will be ready to get the punch, to get the first cyber attack before it's actually happening on their infrastructure. So with that, I will hand over the floor to Ronen, and we'll give him to go over the cyber concept and get back to you afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Ophir. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me well? Perfect.
Yes, no problem, Ronan.
Perfect. So, one moment. I'm struggling with the presenter. Oh, I've just been notified it's the upside down, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, so Ophir spoke about the motivation and what's happening in the market. I want to discuss it from a little bit of a different angle, trying to see how customers behave approaching the upcoming threats. So looking at the market itself, you see that the threats are exponentially increasing. Ophir mentioned it earlier, what happened from the days of Stuxnet until the days we're today. But just looking at the numbers and on the statistics, look at what's mentioned since 2017, the average global cost of cybercrime, ransomware, and other aspects has increased by 27%. Moreover, ransomware demand has multiplied by 15 since 2015, in 5 years only. Now, why is it happening? It's happening because there is a will and there is a way for the hackers. Hackers want to attack more and more, especially in times of COVID-19. They are bored at home. They're looking for additional financial sources. So ransomware is an ideal attack vector that can help them cope and survive during this tough period. Additionally, why is there a way? We all know about the dark web. We all know what's inside. Becoming a hacker today is not as complicated as it used to be 10 years ago. You go on the dark web, you buy the right script, and you can become an amateur hacker in some way. So when the wheel is growing, when the way is getting easier, we need to and the attacks are growing exponentially. We, as the users, need to learn how to defend. And the big question is, how do we do it? And there's another big question: how do I make this presenter work? Okay, I'll use the space. Just looking at the attacks that we know since the COVID-19 has started. Look, EDP. EDP is Portugal, a power company, one of the largest in the world, by the way. It was attacked in a ransomware, threatening to shut down their operations and asking for almost $11 million as a compensation. Greek banks were forced to actually erase and terminate 15,000 credit cards just because the information, the database of those credit cards was hacked and was threatened to be leaked into the market. Hospitals, Ontario Hospital in Canada, it was also hacked, also for ransomware, where the hackers took over the database of the patients and all of their health issues, and they were threatened to spread it into the market. Think about the impact that this would cause to this hospital. No one would be willing to go to this hospital afterwards, knowing that all the confidential information, the sensitive information, is no longer secure. The same thing happened also in Canada, in one of the hospitals in the eastern part of Canada. Exactly the same issue. The same thing also happened in Australia. Australia, one of the largest hospitals in Australia, in Western Australia, was attacked exactly the same way. Ransomware taking over the medical patients database and asking for ransom in order to prevent its leakage. Enel, Italy, power company, the largest power company in Italy, exactly the same story, exactly the same story. And that's happening again. All of these things, most of them happen just during the COVID-19. How do we confront this aspect? So traditionally, all the customers would say, okay, the attacks are evolving, the risks are evolving, we will evolve as well. How do we do it? We will improve our technical capabilities. That's a great thought, and that's a traditional thought, but it has its limits. If the hacker capabilities multiplied by 15 in 5 years, we cannot multiply our resources and our budget by 15. That would create a bankruptcy of the company, the user. The customers are looking for out-of-the-box thinking. Just numbers that you can see in the slide. We spoke about the multiplication of 15 of the ransomware attacks, but on the other hand, the CAGR, the annual growth of the IT systems, has grown at around 6% more or less. And the budget has grown in the past few years by 50%. That's nothing compared to the 15 times growth in the attack scenarios. So how do you treat and how do you work in this, I would say, very sensitive ecosystem? How do you maintain your resources and invest them smartly while still confronting and optimally responding to any attack when it happens and before that happens? That's the million-dollar question. Now, if you think about how it went in the past, we all knew that we have, there's the holy triangle in cybersecurity of people, policies and procedures, and technology. So the immediate response was usually to invest in the technology, because people are the same people. Procedures were built years ago when they're still valid. Let's focus on technology. This mindset is slowly evolving and slowly evolved and shifted to a different way of thinking. And the way of thinking that people and customers think right now is that they should focus on the people in order to achieve the best performance and the best improvement of their cybersecurity capabilities with the minimum investments. Why is this the case? Just look at the statistics. You probably heard that many times. 90% of any cyber incidents will be caused most likely from people in the organization. This is the number that shocks everyone who needs to think how to invest smartly in cybersecurity. This is the point that if you deal with it, you will immediately solve with the Pareto in the 20/80. You will solve 80% of your issues. Now, we're not inventing the wheel. Customers are already training their team, already doing tremendous awareness programs to make sure that their team is aware of any threat when it comes to cyber. But this is traditional, and we need to look for other ways to make the quantum leap and improve it and take the capabilities one step further. So this is a bit about how we do it and how we work in this evolving ecosystem. What we do and what Cyberjig does is actually exactly as Ophir mentioned earlier. We put the people at the front and as the first tier of cybersecurity. This is the most critical defense line within any organization. How do we improve their capabilities? We do it in several layers. The first one is we train the people not in the traditional training methods that exist. Again, there are many cyber schools in the market. They're doing a tremendous job, but they're lacking one thing. And what they're lacking is the real life experience of an attack when it happens. I'm an officer in the army with 11 years of experience in the army. And I always keep telling my friends and colleagues that I never heard, not even of one army that has won a battle just because he showed his soldiers PowerPoint slides. It doesn't work that way. You need to take your soldiers, give them rifles, and take them and walk them through and train them in real life combats. Kevin always says that with bullets flying over your head. And that's what we do. We bring the customers in, we bring the users in, and train them in the most close as possible to reality environment that they can experience. Another thing that we focus on is that we cover not only the IT experts or the cyber experts. Will come through several channels that are the ones that you least expect. From the management team that might have been manipulated and given a virus to put in, and from the secretary, from the financial organization, and so on. We need to make sure that all the organization has the capabilities and the knowledge to identify and eventually respond to an attack when it comes in. Another thing just for you to understand, we have training from the management level that we take the company executives, the CEOs, and the board of directors, and we train them in an environment that simulates an attack and asking questions and dealing with questions that are crucial for them. An attack happened. What should you do? Should you open a red team? Who should be in the red team? Should you report to the media? What should you report to the media and when? What would be the threshold that from this threshold and above you will react? You will give up to the ransom ransom attackers. All those things that needs to be discussed and needs to be taken into consideration, we do it together with them in the real life environment. We have a training for operational teams. When in many of the organizations, the operational teams that are very experienced people and very trained and very knowledgeable, usually are in their DNA, they're very different from the IT teams that are usually younger, they think differently, they act differently, they behave differently. And they are disconnected in many cases. Now, this disconnection is crucial because in many cases, attacks are not being handled or not being identified in advance just because of this lack of communication. We take those two groups, we train them together, and we work with them on how to optimally deploy their procedures and how to work together and communicate before an attack comes in and when it comes. We have awareness programs for the whole employees of the organizations, making sure that the awareness that they get is not just a general, again, PowerPoint slides, but more than that, giving examples and scenarios from real life attacks that happened in the past, such as the ones that Ophir mentioned earlier, and I spoke about at the time. So a bit about our training solutions. Okay, so we covered a lot of it in the previous slides, but about our training solutions. We said that we cover the whole organization and not specific groups in the organization. It could be the SOC analysts, incident response teams, operational engineers, and the rest of the employees. The training is tailored to fit the specific customers and the specific users' level of knowledge. We want the customer to leave the training knowing that he got the most out of this training, and not that he just sat next to the PowerPoint and listened and didn't understand half of the things. We train, we make sure that they understand, and if they don't understand, we flexibly adapt the knowledge level and the capabilities of the training to making sure that that the user has understood and we can move on. Our training is tailored to the different sectors in the market, because banks, for example, their operational environment is totally different from the environment of power companies. Airports operate differently than a police department. So we have operational environment that fits and are tailored with the equipment and the technologies and the procedures of each and every specific sector that exists in the region. Currently, we have sectors all over the world, starting from governments, healthcare, transportation, airports, railroad operators, water companies, energy companies, power distribution, power generation, oil and gas, and I probably have missed some more, insurance companies, and so on, to really tailor to each and every organization. One moment, I'm trying to look if we have photos of this operational environment. We don't. Unfortunately, I don't have the photos from the operational environment. I will try to look for it afterwards, that you will see that we really, for the power generation, for example, we have a miniature pipeline, miniature turbine, miniature system with all the controllers that are known in the market, all the monitoring systems that are known within any power generation company, and we actually built it in our environment, and we trained the team on top of this environment. Okay. We spoke about it already. We saw the whole portfolio of training. Okay, so we talk about the real life training. We talk about the real life training. Now, again, for those of you who are familiar with cyber, our training is having the red team, the hackers, versus the blue. When we do the realistic training, we make sure that the hackers are real hackers and not automated machines that automatically generate attack verticals. Because it is important for us not only to attack the system, but to make sure that when the users come and are being trained, they talk to the hacker, they understand how he thinks and what is his state of mind when he approaches their systems. It really changes the user's mindset, really, and understanding what should happen and what should they see and what should they expect when the hacker will start working on their system.
It's very, if I may to jump in for 1 second, it's very similar to a boxing training for boxer or as part of a championship campaign or a championship boxing match. You don't want your boxer to step into the arena for the very first time on the championship fight. You want to make sure that you will know how to protect themselves, you know how to give a punch, how to behave during real boxing, to give him a lot of trainings with a lot of other boxers before the championship match. And when I say championship match, if I want to compare that to the cyber world, the championship match would be a cyber attack on your organization, which probably will shut down your environment. You want to make sure that your management, your board members, your cybersecurity experts, your techie guys will be aware, will be familiar with the feeling of having a boxing match or having a companion in the arena together with them, and actually in a very simple way to feel how to get punched during the training and before a boxing championship match, and making sure that they know what they are doing during this match. And we want to try and want to make sure that organizations from everywhere around the world will know how their colleagues, how their counterparts from different places around the world are behavior, how they protect themselves, how they train their people around the world. So what we did, we connected all of our arenas around the world. And like I said, we have more than 10 arenas around the world, and people can actually step in everywhere in one of those premises around the world. And now we added the virtual cloud-based arena, so they can step in everywhere and train against real hackers or against different hackers around the world, and even ask questions from other places around the world and get answers and best practices from other places around the world, regardless vendors, regardless technology, just working together to try to protect their environment and their systems according to what happened around the world. So if someone wants to ask EDP from Portugal how they protected their environment and how they trained their people against cyber attacks, they can actually log into the WCW, the World Cyber Warfare Arena, and to train together with EDP in Portugal, or with IC in Israel, or with Victorian government in Australia, and to learn from them how they did it. Of course, the very basic thing is to have, the very basic fundamental is to have the connectivity and to be part of this community of the World Cyber Warfare Arena. So at the beginning, we're doing that together with CyberGyms, experts in CyberGyms trainers. The training solution is not like, it's not like a magic. It's not something that we are taking out of the shelf and say, this is what you, the most suitable for you as a customer. What we're saying is that there's 4 steps of tailor-making, of learning, of understanding one in each other between CyberGym and the end customer, and training the first training with the first few trainings, and then we optimize the process together with the customer. So we have a plan which is customized and which is focused and effective to the organization, the sector that the organization is working on, the environment that he's operating on, the territory that he's operating, because there are, of course, different threats in the Middle East, which there are in the Caribbean or other places from around the world. So we are actually optimizing all the aspects of the training solutions so customers will be very, very effective. Good. Kevin, are we good? How do you want? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect, because I'm getting messages that, okay, cool. So how we make that accessible, everything that Ronen mentioned and everything that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation and in the last few minutes, how we make that access to you, to the customers, to the partners, to the people around the world, the organizations around the world that want to see the case studies, they want to see what happened in other places around the world, that want to learn from what happened to other colleagues and other organizations from other places around the world, because they want to make sure that it will not happen to them. So we developed a system that allowed everyone to see, to train, to book, to customize everything that happens around the world at the same platform. Optimus is the one that we, the main one that allows you to see what's going on around the world, to be part of what is going on in the WCWA, to book a training, to develop, to customize the training if you like, either as a partner or as an end customer. You can see example of February 19 that we did here in Israel, around the world with our capabilities. You can see trainings from Tokyo, Japan. You can see training in Portugal, training that's going on in Portugal, in the Netherlands, in Australia, and other places. And people are working together. People are participating in the same trainings. You can see a training, say, listen, I want to be part of this training. I want to see what's going on with the energy sector in Portugal. I want to be part of the finance training that is going on, that is happening in the next month or two in Australia, New York, Israel or any other place around the world. The idea is to book, to join, to work together with different organizations and companies around the world, but it's also allowed you to book or to order a training which will fit to you. And if it's not fit for you, if it's not work for you, you can change it, you can tailor-make it, you can base it on other case studies that you think is more relevant for you. We got requests because of a lot of attacks that's going on in Israel in the last few months. I don't know if you had a chance to read it in media. We've been attacked, our water systems has been attacked probably from Iran, according to the media. Some of our banks, some of our part of our energy sector has been attacked, again, according to the media, from Iran or other places in the Middle East. So there is a lot of requests asking us, can you make that as a case study? Can you turn that to a training session? So we want to learn what happened. We want to learn how to protect or how to react at the most effective way. And we're building that and we're developing that. And you can log into the system and to book those case studies. And you can book those training sessions as part of your training program. The same goes to other case studies from other places around the world. We're working, our research desk is working on making EDPs and NEL and other organizations, energy organizations that have been attacked in the last few months as a case study for their own internal use. You can see here a few examples. I'm not going to dive in, but you can see here examples of different orders and different trainings that is being done. Now, another thing that I think will be very interesting for you partners and for the end customers is the certification plan. We have certifications planned for different audience, certification plans for different audience and different target audience around the world. And of course, in different sectors. We can say, listen, guys, we can certify your internal red team to protect or to become an incident response team inside your organization. It requires a few training sessions that you need to do. It requires a few things that you need to, a few exams that you need to pass, and then you have a certification. The same goes to SOC analysts or SOC specialists. And one program here is very, very popular is the Zero to Hero plan. We're happy to say that that few of our programs, but the most leading ones are the most popular one, Zero to Hero, is being adopted by ISACA, which is one of the largest certification organizations in the North America and actually also in Europe. So it's in the Western world. You can train your daily employee, normal general employee, to become a cyber guardian by having the Zero to Hero program. And again, like I said, it's been adopted and it's been and so Zero to Hero program allowed you to have different people participating in this program, and then you're actually getting certified as a cyber guardian in different aspects of your organization. And like I said before, it's been adopted by ISACA as one of the largest certification organizations around the world. And this Optimus allows you to do it and to book it and to participate as part of this certificate. We mentioned, Ronen and I, we mentioned that we are working also with an offensive platform. We said that we are adapting our training sessions according to case studies, according to attacks that happens around the world. And for that, we developed another program, which we are calling Chaos, obviously. The Chaos system allowed you to run different attacks, different APTs on different organizations around the world. It's actually simulate different levels and different types of attackers, enemies from around the world. You can start from lone wolves up to state level attacks. You can start from a very basic one, a very simple one, and goes up to a very complicated one with simulate attacks and case studies from different places around the world. It's transparent to our partners. It's transparent to our customers. It's not something that we hide. It's something that we share, so organizations will be able to learn and to have some insights from those systems. You can see a screenshot from the system which actually collect evidence, which makes a lot of noise as part of the training and as part of the case studies.
One moment, guys. We're just trying to put it in a full screen so it will be easier for you to see the slide set. שתעשה share של המצגת, צריך לעשות share של סקרין.
That's full screen now, Ophir.
Now it's good, David. Okay. So like I said at the beginning, like I said when I presented Chaos a few seconds ago, it's something that we share. It's something that which is transparent to our customers, which means that customers can learn from the hacker point of view, can see what the hacker sees, and can learn from what we can conduct or we can execute from the hacker's point of view. This is a few examples of how the systems looks like. It's a very complicated system. We can learn and we can record what happened during the training and to show it to the customers, which means a lot of our debriefing part, a lot of our optimization part, which is so the fourth milestone in our relationship with the customer, is the important optimization. A lot of it been done by an evidence that we collect, an evidence that we can share, and we can base the report on, which means those facts can be used afterwards to the debriefing part and can be used afterwards to the customers to learn and to improve it. So I wanted to share with you a few case studies that we did from around the world. The first one is the Victorian government. The Victorian government case study is actually a lot of the representatives from the government came to Israel a few years back, looked at our system, said, listen, this is exactly what we want to build in Melbourne. This is exactly what we want to have in Victoria. And we want to make sure that our employees, most of our employees in the government will have training in this in this arena. So what we did, together with the endorsement of the current government, we built a facility, one of the biggest facilities that we have around the world. A few years back, 2.5 years ago, and from that, from 2018 until now, thousands of employees went through our trainings in the Savaging facility in Australia, went through a different levels and different training sessions according to the goals that the government set up. And what we are seeing in the last few years, the government are pushing the private sector also to go through this facility, go through these training sessions, so they will be able to protect themselves better. Again, I don't know if you had a chance to read and to see the media, to read some newspapers and websites from Australia, some news from Australia. You probably saw that there was a huge attack on the Victorian government in the last, I would say, in the last month or so, on their government infrastructure, and which is, again, according to the media, according to the publication in the websites in Australia, it's originated from China, so it's not lone wolves. It's not something which is, I would say, simple ones. It's actually attacks which are complicated, and in most cases in China, it's to steal an IP and to steal some technologies that have been generated or been developed in Australia. So it's something that they're taking very serious in the last few years, and it seems like they're right on the target because they're having a lot of attacks. So they're having attacks from other places around the world. So the results are they're becoming more and more capable, more and more skills, more and more ready against cyber attacks. And it is something that we are measuring together with the current government. This is something that we're making sure that their employees and the manpower, the trainees that are coming to our facilities are getting better and better on protecting their infrastructure. The finance sector or finance institutes around the world, we just gave a few examples here. I mean, the Pauline Bank, the Discount Bank, Rabobank from Europe, Czechia Spolitena, again from Europe, all of those organizations, huge finance institutes, are either having a facility with Cybergym or having a training sessions with Cybergyms in the last few years. And like I said, we are measuring the efficiency of the training sessions that they're having in Cybergym and making sure that those trainings are effective, those trainings are making their manpower and their employees better and better. And like I said, like Ronen said before, it's not just employees, it's not just the cyber experts, it's also their managers and their board members. We had maybe the last example that I can share with you. We had a training session with board members combined with mid-level managers and cyber experts with two main scenarios. The first one was denial of service attack on their infrastructure. And the second one was complicated ransom attack on their assets. The first one went very well from the customer's point of view. They knew exactly what to do. The management and the board members took the right decisions. So they react very, very good and very effective on the DDoS attack. But when we did the complicated ransom attack, the key word is complicated. It's not that ransom one workstation. It's actually ransom hundreds of their servers and assets. Suddenly, there weren't any procedures. Nothing. There wasn't any policy in place that they know what to do. They have no idea how to react, with how to report or to whom they need to report to, what action items or what next steps they need to do to at least contain the problem. Suddenly they started to see press release, in websites, in journalists that, calling them and asking their comments on what's going on in the media. And the guys, the board members, have no idea, no clue what to do whatsoever. So the first scenario went very well because they were already trained, already prepared. Second scenario, on the complicated ransom attack, they had no idea what to do because no procedures in place, no policy in place. They had zero experience on what to do in those cases. And this scenario actually being the first time that they had to deal with in this kind of scenarios. We did the same, so we took a lot of insights and a lot of lessons learned, and we did the same training with the same people 6 months after the first one, and it was perfect. I would say close to perfect. They did a lot of things which much more effectively, much more professionally than in the last round. The first round, and everything was in their own environment. It was, according to their threat models, according to their finance operating environment, which went, like I said, almost perfectly in the last round that we did. So we're happy to say that we can build and we can customize the steps or the different evolution of the different trainings according to the customer's level and the customer's capability. With that, with the last example, I want to conclude and say that we are taking the manpower, the human factor in the center. We are taking that and saying, listen, this is the most strongest link in the chain or the weakest link in the chain. If you will train your manpower, if you will train your cyber experts, your IT guys, your general employees, every employee that you have in the organization, if you will train your management to take the right decision, if you will take them as a group, as a whole, you will turn them to your strongest link in the chain and not the weakest in the chain. And you will stop chasing hackers and bad guys with more and more niche technology and solution, with more and more, I would say, sometimes useless technologies, different technologies, because it's a race, and part of this race, we cannot win. In most cases, the bad guys, the enemies will have an advantage. Thank you very much for your time. And I will give the floor to Andre or to Beijing to take it to the Q&A session.
Okay, thank you, Ofer, and thank you, Ronen, for a really excellent presentation. I'll hand over to Deidre, who will take us through a question and answer session.
Thank you so much, Ofer and Ronen. Your presentation was indeed very informative and impactful. We are happy that we could share with our participants the scope of what Cybergen can do, especially for our management teams who have to make those decisions on the fly. It's important for them to have training collectively. You can have finance, you can have IT, because it's going to affect all of them. And how do you work under pressure? Having them being able to think uniformly that we can have great decisions being made and as quickly as possible solve our problems. Now, we are open to question and answers. If you have any questions, just let us know within the chat. I will open the mic for you to speak. So any question you have about Cybergen, you are feel free to ask at this time. We have a question, and that question is, are the certificate programs accredited internationally?
So yes, there is an organization called ISACA, and we are in the middle of a process with ISACA to endorse by them some of our programs. So the certification right now is being issued by Cybergene and recognized by ISACA. Some of the programs are recognized by ISACA. I will write down the name of the organization.
So that is ISACA. So they're accredited by Cybergene and ISACA as well. We have another question, but I did answer it within the chat, where if our training is available for individuals or groups only. Yes, we can have individuals within our training because we are operating on a regional level. What we can have 2 persons in Trinidad doing the training. What we did not mention is initially, before COVID, the intention was that with interest to have a cyber pod for the Caribbean. With COVID happening, what we decided to do at this time, we do have our training remotely. So everything that you saw just now, our teams, what they do, they take you through a virtual environment that you can train. So you're still getting that emulation training. It is not decreased in any way. And as long as you set aside that time, you need 15 participants in that class to begin with, and you can have your training. Are there any more questions? We seem not to have any more questions, but we just want to thank Ofer, Ronan, Kevin, and our CEO, our Dr. Andre Thomas, for joining us, and to you, our participants. Now, we are available for more questions. If you didn't want to ask online and you want to contact us, you are feel free to do so. My email is ciccd@caribbeanisraelcoalition.org.
Okay.
We have one more question. What is your training going to offer to protect
Absolutely.
information when we can just set up VPNs to protect our data?
Well, Shankar, I think it's a different solution. I mean, yes, you're right. You can encrypt your data to protect stealing stealing your data. But our training is not just focusing on how to protect your organization against from stealing, but it's also training how to behave and how to work on your daily life from other aspects or from other threats, not just stealing your data or your computers. The ransom case studies were examples of what can happen if you don't have a procedure or you don't have an experience with those kind of threats. VPN technology or encryption technology is very important, regardless of, on top of what we are offering, which is protecting, leveraging your manpower skills. It's on top, it's additional, It's not instead of encryption technology, in this case, VPN.
I would also want to mention, Deidre, if you could share with them the exact training that we're going to offer at the base level, the online awareness, and also the three levels that we're going to be offering. I think that's very critical that they know that.
Okay, so to start with, what we are doing, given the increase in cyber attacks that we're having within the region, we felt it was necessary for our workforce in general to have information and basic know-how on what to do. You know, you get those phishing emails, those things that somebody wants to send you money this place, even something as simple as an organization telling you to click a link and it has an extra L on their URL. What do you do in those cases and how to avoid them? So our online training really takes you through and takes you at an organizational level through those things. So whether it be the receptionist, you're working in finance, we want that everybody within the organization is able to have an understanding about what is supposed to be happening. On the remote level now, it's from our understanding and our research that within the region that on a broad scale, while there may be some persons who have some cybersecurity as it relates for us to be able to defend ourselves within the region, we don't have enough persons to do it or at the level that we are getting our attacks. We're still paying our ransoms. So as it relates to that, we would have done our cyber training in modules, and that being our first model. Essentially, the bigger program is called Zero to Hero, but we began with those introductory stages in cyber. So tomorrow we actually are having another webinar at 10 a.m. and that's telling us how do you get started in cybersecurity. So for those persons who may want to get into cybersecurity, you realize that this is something that I need to help to be able to defend my country in, and I want to pay some emphasis on this. What is my first step to be able to get started? So we have that training, we have it at different levels. We would advise persons to be honest with themselves, even if you've had training before. As you know, with CyberGem, our trainers do come from pharma, is Israeli Mossad, and they train you to hack. It's not just textbook. You do get that hands-on experience. So even what they train you is at a higher level. You have that security and networking that we teach. 3 levels of training that we really teach within those programs. So feel free.
Hey, Deidre, I just want to kind of expand on what you're saying there, right? So, and I hope everyone can hear me okay, but so what Deidre was just talking about is kind of our entry level of what we were looking to go into the region. We've been talking about this for a while of where the structure of the region is and how to get the skill set up of people that are currently in IT positions that are looking to make the move over into cybersecurity. What Ophir and Ronen were going through earlier when they were showing you Optimus and they were showing you the Zero to Hero programs, that's more, it kind of goes along with, you know, Ms. Gail Morgan's question there of, is this training for individuals or corporation businesses, right? So it's kind of, the answer is yes to both of them, you know, because we're setting up stuff because we know the skill set in the region isn't really there to support the cybersecurity needs of the businesses. But the other side of it is for larger businesses and organizations, we still will do, that's where we were born from, is doing the group training for those private companies, right? And when the difference between the two is when you're doing the individualized training, you're kind of training everybody at a certain level to bring the skill sets up. But when you go to a corporate training or a business training level, we're individualizing it to the client, right? So who's the team that's attending? What is their current skill set? And then how do they work together as one cohesive unit to defend against an attack, you know, when it happens? Because just as the last question about the VPN, right? Every big company has VPNs, and it's not just that easy to do that, to defend against it, right? Attacks do happen. So from the group training standpoint, we're teaching individuals how to work against art hackers in real-time emulated attacks, on how to identify and mitigate those attacks and move on.
If I could add something else to what you just said, I saw that we have a question here, and the question is, so isn't your training going to allow for more hackers, for instance? No. These are hackers that are white hat hackers. They work for, CyberGym, so they're the good guys. And in order to determine whether your defenses are actually working, they have to be attacked in a controlled environment. And so that's what they do. So I just wanted to really clarify this for Sanka Raghu, that these are, they are hackers that work for CyberGym. It's not hackers from other parts of the world. Okay, Deidre.
So if there are no more questions, I'm just looking to see if you were having more questions in the Q&A as well as in our chat. I don't see any more questions. I do want to thank you for joining us today as we shared our information. Offer or Ronan, do you want to say anything before we close out?
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating and for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, President Deidre and Mr. Thomas, for conducting this, for hosting this session. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. You're most welcome. We were happy to bring you into our region. One of the things that I must say about CyberGym, one of the things that we've realized within the region is cyber was always a problem, but we were never able to have someone to meet us where we were at, meet us in price point or meet us in our level and where we're at in terms of training. So they have been extremely gracious to us. CyberGym is offering our training. Our online training is only $200 US. That's $200 US for our online training. That's magnificent. For our remote training at each level, that is $1,800 US. Now, by far, that is no indication of who they are as a company, because the training that we are getting now, if you had to do it at CyberGym in the States, it would cost you $4,500 to $7,500 US. So what they have done, they have partnered with us, understanding what the needs in the region are, and our heart and our vision for the region, really to create a cyber shield across the region and partner with us to be able to provide this training to Barbados and the region as a whole. So we're extremely grateful for them to that. And we are encouraging you to take advantage of this training. You really do need to take advantage of it. Your first line of defense is your people. So your people need to be trained. So we want to thank you for joining us today. We want to thank Kevin out of our New York office as well. Kevin has been instrumental as well in this process, bridging the gap. We know that we are in different countries, but we speak one language now, and understanding what our needs are. And really thank him for helping us to give you what we're giving you today and to share what CyberGym does. As one of the fantastic things about CyberGym, because they have so many arenas around the world, they make sure that if an attack happens in Israel or if it happens in Melbourne, an emulation of that attack is put in their training. So we're always up to date. Our training is not obsolete. We are up to times with what is happening within the region and the world. So they're awesome at what they do. We are willing, we are ready. If you wanted to start training tomorrow, we can start training tomorrow. So as I was saying before, to get into contact with us, do feel free. You can contact me via email. That's ciccd@caribbeanisraelcollision.org. You can call our office at 429-0895, or my cell, that's 251-9836. If you're outside of us, that's 246 first, 1-246-251-9836. We are happy and we are waiting to hear from you and how we can help you. So, Ms. Morgan, of course we can. We are going to provide a list to all of our participants of the courses that we have offered. We know that you may be at different levels within cyber, so we will give you the full scope of our courses. And if you want to tailor your training to your organization, you can most definitely do so. We know that you're at different skill sets and we're flexible. I'm just waiting. So I don't see any more questions. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We are so happy that you would have joined us. Don't forget, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we have another webinar, and that's for the persons who now want to get into cybersecurity. And I don't know where to start. What do we do? That session is tomorrow at 10. Feel free to register for that webinar as well. It's on our website. Our website is www.caribbeanisrael.com. Space is still open and we're looking forward to having you. One vision, and our vision is to create a cyber shield within the region. We thank you for participating with us today. Dr. Thomas, do you have any other words before we close out?
No, I think you have spoken for all of us. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining our webinar, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow in our webinar as well. Our webinar is called A Career in Cybersecurity. How do you get started? See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.